Welcome to the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT, the show built for professional truck drivers. Bringing you the latest insights, hot jobs, and tips to keep you moving forward. Powered by Sutton Valley Transportation, the leaders in safety, fuel efficiency, and innovation, with over 1,600 trucks on the road. Let's hit the road together. This is the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT.
Hey everybody, this is our first podcast show of 2025. So the first thing I want to say is Happy New Year. I feel like I was at an event yesterday and I told them I feel like we're going to be saying this to 2025, but till May. I feel like we're going to be saying this for quite a while because there's so many people that we end up not seeing. But let's just kick it off. I am Kameel E, the owner and host of the Rig on Wheels show, the #1 truck driver recruitment show, proudly featuring the MVT, the best MVT out there, right? And as always, we're joined by Robert Pierson, the Vice President of Recruitment over there at Sutton Valley. Each week, we bring you the latest industry news, hot jobs, the tips for drivers, recruitment tips as well. But the hot topics we got today is the Canada's PM, what's his name? Justin, I don't want to... Trudeau. He quitting, he's stepping down. And then we have the dock workers, longshoremen. We're talking about striking again. That's up on the docket again, January 15th. So we want to talk about that. But of course, we're going to talk about our freight and our diesel, most definitely. But before we get into that, I want to let everybody know, whatever you're watching us on, to make sure you follow and subscribe, especially on YouTube. Make sure you click the button so you can follow and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on any of your favorite podcast audio channels, make sure you do the same, because we're on all of them: Apple, iHeart, Spotify, all of them. So let's definitely get right into it. I'm going to pick up my phone because it failed. But let's definitely get right into it. But first, Pierson, how was your holiday? How was your New Year?
I was in a sick household. I started off the new year basically keeled over. But with that said, it could be worse. People have it much worse. And it's the thing that when life throws you lemons, you got to just remember there's people that are getting cold while you're getting those lemons. So go ahead and make lemonade.
Yes, I can do some lemonade because I'm having a hot flash right now. So, but that might be an age factor. But dang, I hate to hear that you were sick.
Well, I know it's been going around. There was, and I don't have the name of the flu that's going around. It's a stomach flu that seems to be very common in the U.S. at this moment. And you seem to be able to carry it once you're better, but you still can carry it. So I think we most likely got it from grandparents. It went to the kids, then went to us. As I tell everybody, wash your hands frequently. This particular bug does not do well or doesn't really care about disinfectants. So, doing a little squirt isn't a bad idea, but does nothing for it. Just like your parents told you, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. There may have been some reasons behind it.
Yeah, it might have been some reasons, but it's just only so much, when you got kids and all of that, they carry germs.
Yeah, let me be honest. Kids are little petri dishes.
Yes.
And so they go to school. As I kept trying to tell my wife is at least our immune system is going to be stronger. And as she made her way out of the room to visit the restroom again, I got a look that told me she didn't need to know that at this moment.
Yeah, she like, no, we're not getting stronger. Well, at some point she got stronger, but at that point it was not it.
And it wasn't the time to discuss it. No.
Yeah, I hate that's how y'all brought in the new year.
Do you got any resolutions this year? What's your goal for 2025?
Well, I don't really do resolutions, but I guess I do goals. I don't know if that's the same thing or not. but I do want to just be more focused. That's really what my goal is. 2025, just be more focused, more intentional. I do feel like I'm a focused, intentional person. But I was listening to Eric Thomas motivational YouTube this morning. I've heard it a million times, but basically it just says, be honest with yourself. How much or what percentage are you giving? And I don't feel like I'm giving 110. I feel like I might be giving 95. So I do want to be over that 100%. What about you?
I want to be more present. And what I mean by that is we have so many conversations and talk to so many people over the course of the year. I want to put extra focus into setting down my cell phone, literally looking at somebody and giving them my undivided attention. I have a tendency where I like to multitask. And truth be told, none of us multitask. That's not a real thing. You literally just start dividing your time back and forth. And the more things you add to that puzzle, the least you do all those things effectively. So my big thing this year is probably being more attentive and present in the conversations that I'm having.
Yeah, when you said be present, the first thing I thought about was my mom, because she kept a really busy schedule when I was growing up. I didn't realize it, but I realize it now that I'm older. But she was always present. She never did the multitasking when it came to me. So if I had a question or a problem or whatever, she was always very focused. And I tend not to be like that when it comes to my family. I tend to say I'm going to multitask while they're doing stuff, except for when it comes to my grandkids. So I think I need to do that too. That's true.
Yeah, I think it helps having more meaningful conversations. And I'll be honest, one of my pet peeves is how often I talk to people, and literally I'll take notes, I'll document stuff. I have a really good memory. When I'm present and I pay attention, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm good with it. When I multitask and I'm really divided in that discussion, I have that awkward moment where 5 minutes later, hey, Kameel, I know you just said this, but what were we just talking about? What do you mean by that? And it's one of those things that when it's done to you, it's an insult. You're going, hey, you're not involved in the conversation. So I have to imagine it's the same thing to another person. So my focus this year is to be more present. I think it helps both in your personal life as well as professionally. And, we talk a lot on this show, and I know you have the conversations with Meryl a lot with Hello Retention. You got to build relationships with drivers. And it's hard to do that if you're not present.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And as you always say, we're in the people business.
Yep, absolutely. Anytime we think differently, that can't be true.
Yeah, but I guess the biggest thing is that we're aware and we're always trying to get better. That's what the biggest thing is. And that's what's good about the new year. It gives it, or at least I don't know how true it is, but it makes us feel like we have a clean slate where it's a Monday where we can start over.
Yep, absolutely.
That's how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As we go into segment 2, I got a article that I had to answer some questions on. So as we go into segment 2, I have some questions for you.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, let's go with those questions. I'd like to get your answers on those.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get the news out of the way. And I'm up here sweating, guys. And it's not just the hot flashes. It's because of Pierson going to put me in a hot seat. So let's definitely talk about this trucking news. Let's dive into that. That's for sure.
Well, let me see here. I tell you what, we've talked about it. I'll start with the first story. I know you got a couple, and of course, we're always going to cover, freight and what fuel's doing. Pitt, Ohio buys LTL carrier Sutton Transport. Sutton Transport's been around a long time.
Yeah,
we've talked about it over the last 4 to 5 weeks. We're going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions over the course of this year. Here starts the first one of the year. Pitt, Ohio, which is a big LTL company. You see primarily in the Midwest, East Coast. Sutton's been around a long time. I've competed with them a couple of times for drivers. They'll get assimilated essentially into this conglomerate that Mid-Ohio's creating. Won't be the last. I can tell you, if you're a driver The nice thing compared to, say, 6-12 months ago is you have options. So as a professional driver, when you get ate up by somebody that's larger, you might want to stick with them. There may be benefits to sticking with them, but the environment today for a professional driver has improved dramatically compared to where it was 12 months ago. So as an example, those Sutton Transport drivers, Sutton had pretty high safety standards. They should be fine, but it's going to be one of the things that I promise you that will be a common topic we see week over week going through this year.
Yeah. And some out of necessity and others growth.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
yep.
Yeah. That's the
what do you got?
One. Well, we got the dock workers. They're starting this talk again with the mafia boss here. And the thing that he says, if they're not talking about no automation, he does not want to talk about it at all. And what bothers me is they have some dangerous jobs, those dock workers with all that cargo and everything. And the fact that he doesn't want any automation is ridiculous because that's safety.
Yep.
And we are behind as far as the U.S. When it comes to ports, we're behind the 8 ball. And we can, I know I ruffled some feathers in my house because my mother is extremely blue. She is Chicago machine blue. But I'm going to go ahead and I know Pierson is like, what does this have to do with anything? But let's go ahead and just put this all together. Because my mother was like, what are you talking about? After that video from Instagram. So this is the thing. The U.S. ports are behind in the Stone Ages, right? And dock workers it's a very dangerous job out there on the ports. The automation will make it a lot safer. And of course, everything will be baby steps. Of course, there will be jobs that will be lost, but as you look, there'll be jobs that will be gained, just like with when it comes to any automation. Now, as that article, the video that I was watching, and we can look at any other articles, the Asian ports are the ports that have the most automation. They are the best when it comes to efficiency and effective and everything. Now, when we go over here to Elon Musk and what's the other guy that starts with a V, the Indian guy that's part of Trump's cabinet.
I know who you're talking about, and I'm drawing a blank.
Right. So, and they were talking about the reasons why we're needing to outsource and get our IT talent from Southeast Asia and all of that. It's because of the culture here in America when it comes to IT. What were you about to say?
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yep, that's it. Look at there. How did you pronounce that name? So I would never.
I can't do it again.
Yeah, I would never have been able to do that. So, but with saying that, it goes. This falls right into Vivek. That
Ramaswamy.
His lap and Elon Musk's lap. Exactly what they were talking about as far as our American culture that we don't understand. We are not getting it. And Vivek Ramaswamy said it's not that Americans are idiots or whatever, but we are too much wanting to rally behind the jocks and the cheerleaders versus the geeks or the nerds, the ones that are actually going to move this country forward and take us more globally into efficiency and automation and things like that. We are literally in the Stone Ages when it comes to our ports. When you think of the port in LA, Los Angeles, and that long line and how those truck drivers have to, it's just a nightmare all the time. And our supply chain is horrible. And then the mob boss, what's his name? Dargett? DAGG. Yeah. And how he is saying, well, the car salesmen won't be able to sell any cars because they're going to be stuck out. That's horrible that he's saying things like that. That's so un-American. But
yeah, look, I tell anybody, change is inevitable. It is. It's part of life. And my job, what I did in 2006 when I started as a recruiter is dynamically different than what I do today. That's part of life. Now I can fight it and I can go, oh, you know what? Drivers only look for jobs in newspapers. I'm not going to get online. Or you know what? Drivers don't look on job boards. I'm not going to deal with a third party recruiter. I don't want them. Life changes and it evolves, and it does it dramatically when you look over the past 20 years in most professions. We can't keep things the way they have always been. You have to be comfortable with change. What drivers did, my grandfather, who was a driver for 54 years, would not recognize today's industry. Does not mean that it's right or wrong or his way's better or our way's better. Life evolves and it changes. The challenge for us right now is, look, we need the ports. The ports are definitely an important part of the economy, and they keep the country moving just like our drivers do. The challenge here is we cannot live in the past. What we are doing is currently not working. It's clearly not working. 17 dock workers a year die every year because of the fact of our arcane way of doing it. We're doing it like it's the 1960s still. Where look, you may hire fewer people by automating it, but it's a safer job. And those people that are no longer doing really a mundane job at this point will go on to do other things. 150 years ago, we had chimney sweeps, and you'd have people come out and clean out your chimney. We don't pay those people to still do that. Life moved on. And what we have here is an industry that is moving on, and I feel sorry for them. But we need to move forward on that end because we pay a consequence. You have people making $80,000 to $150,000 a year doing a job that realistically, in about 90% of the cases, should not exist.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can still make that money. It's just that they need to re-educate themselves and do the same job, just in a different function, more automated. And that's just kind of what it is. And in that video, one of the ladies was talking about, and I think it was them actually talking about another piece when they were talking about plumbers. Plumbers weren't needed at one time because people didn't have bathrooms. They had outhouses or, things like that. So it's the same rationale. I'm just telling you, I don't want to have to go outside and use the bathroom. I'm glad that I can call the plumber man to come and fix my toilet. I don't have to do outside plumbing or no plumbing. I have indoor plumbing, things like that. Or the rotary phone, things that your kids and my kids have no idea about. Standing in the kitchen with that one yellow phone, with that rotary phone situation happening. What was the next thing that you wanted to talk about?
Well, you had a second story here. We talked about the sale. We talked about the dock workers, and you had another story going on.
I have, let me scroll down. I have about the PM Canada.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it's so crazy how other than Mexico, so I can't really say this, but it just seems like in North America, at least 2 out of the 3 countries are kind of mimicking the same way as far as politics right now. But with Trudeau, look at it, Trudeau stepping down, and I knew that they was going to pressure him. Poor man. I just wanted him to step down because I was stressed out for him. It was just too much for me to handle every time with all the podcasts and everything that was going on. But with him stepping down and just quitting or what have you, now the guy that will probably win, Peter not even going to try to say his last name. It starts with a P, but his first name is Peter. He's part of the Conservative Party. He's trying to clean up their borders because they feel like they have too many Indians coming in, and Trudeau just opened up the borders. So you have that situation, and it's more than just Indians, but that's what they're going to say is the whole issue. And then the inflation. Now, their inflation is ridiculous. If you're on Instagram or TikTok, they talk about how in Toronto, if you just want to be able to sleep in somebody's kitchen, it's going to cost you $1,200 a night.
Yeah, they have a housing problem.
Yeah, they do. They definitely have a housing problem. But so that issue is going on.
Yeah, the housing crisis up there, the immigration is good, and it's going to save their social safety nets over the next 20 to 30 years. Yeah. So it's been a blessing. The problem is being a home builder in Canada, between the regulation, carbon tax, and a whole bunch of other barriers, is very difficult to keep up with that. So if you're going to have the immigration, which I would argue legal immigration is a really good thing. You tend to get other countries' best and brightest, and in the long run, you end up saving your social safety nets. The challenges with that is you also have to have the building supply. The problem in California, as we see in our own country, of why housing is the way that it is in California, is it's impossible to build housing en masse without building luxury housing if you can build it at all. And they're running into that in Canada right now. The carbon tax has been widely unpopular. Canada and the U.S. follow each other's leads in more ways than one, but this is one of them. We have some of the same housing issues. Yeah. It's not as aggressive, but same inflationary issues. And so it is one that kind of the way the country was leaning to the right coming into this election, clearly they were leaning into the right. We can retrospectively look at it and go, yeah, they're leaning right. We see that in Canada too. Similar to Biden, he will still be in office for several months as they have an election. But with that said, the country is leaning to the right because the establishment's leaving a large percentage of the voter base unsatisfied.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happens. People just want completely, they're done. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to talk about it. When they're just, somebody is just totally fed up, that's a lot of time what happens. You don't have a lot of people like you and I that will say, okay, we want to take this and that, that type of thing. Liberal, socialists, and, well, for me, I can speak for me, liberal, socialists, and conservative, fiscal conservative type situation.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
What do you got?
You just want green or
it's gold.
Gold.
Libertarians gold.
No.
Green would be Jill Stein. I am not a Jill Stein advocate.
Okay. That one guy, the guy that you do like, Oliver Twist, I actually like him when I was reading up on him. But he's a libertarian, and I am what you would consider a libertarian, which is a liberal, social liberal, and fiscal conservative. Yes, is a libertarian. Yep.
So most people on social issues, it's not a support thing or a disapprove thing. It's a don't care thing. Literally don't care. And then on the flip side of the equation, most people want people to spend tax dollars wisely. The challenge is we live in a duopoly where both sides make it very hard. They learned in 92 through Ross Perot, we'll have competition. And they put a number of barriers in place that if you're a third party to get on all 50 states ballots is an act of God.
Yeah, because Ross Perot was shaking it up. That was the last.
Oh, he did.
Like, no, we're not doing this anymore. No,
yeah, they put a stop
not in America.
Okay, I tell you what. Let's talk about spot market and fuel. Spot market last week kind of messed up with us having Christmas and New Year's falling in these middle weeks. Loads were down 50%. Available trucks were down 38%. Essentially, everybody closing up shop for the week. With that said, rates continue to stay, right now dry van's holding at about 217 on the spot market, 224 for reefer, 224 for flatbed, 258 for reefer. Those numbers have been pretty good for the past 5 weeks. And I think when you talk a little bit about the cost of fuel, what we're seeing is some optimism going into 2025. Not robust optimism. People aren't throwing a parade yet. But part of what's being reflected in both numbers is a certain optimism coming into the year that people are expecting it will not be 2024.
Yeah, definitely. So the diesel prices rose almost 6 cents, 5.8 to 3.56 a gallon. I do want to say this, don't have the gas prices. The average didn't come out. But at the start of the year, that did happen. So this is the largest increase since October 14th. But it is still less than it was this time last year. So kind of want to still point that out. As much as we, want to be negative Nancy or whatever, even though, no, we're not doing this. We're still New Year. So it's a new me, new year, however the saying goes. But so we're not being negative right now. But with saying that, it's still less than it was this time last year.
Yep.
Awesome.
I think that's it for news.
Then let's ready to rumble. Terrell, take us to commercial, whatever commercial you see fit.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start featuring, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick and mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I love that commercial with Joe because he talks very in detail about the Blue Beast. So I love it when I'm driving in Texas and everything, especially driving up going towards DFW and I see the Blue Beast and everything. So I just love it. You really see him on the side of the road broken down, that's for sure. But that's a great one. So let's go ahead and jump into the jobs. Right? No, that's right. That's right. See, look at there. I was.
So I'll be doing a kind of a Q&A with a little publication that follows the industry here. Once that comes out, I'll forward it over to you. But I got some questions I wanted to throw your way because you tend to, as the owner, operator of Rig on Wheels, you tend to have a nice perspective that you get from both this, the podcast with Hello Retention, as well as just your day-to-day business function. Mm-hmm. So I'd be curious, and it's one of those things talking to drivers. What should companies, trucking carriers, look for when hiring drivers to make sure they stay long-term? Keeping in mind you're the carrier, but the driver probably would have an opinion on this. So for you, if you're trying to hire a driver, a professional on the road that is going to stick with a trucking company, let alone meets minimum hiring guidelines, what is it that you think, what traits do you believe they should have?
Not jumping around. Yeah, you don't want somebody that jumps around, especially one thing that I've probably in the last 8 years, I've seen carriers, they don't want it on their applications where it just says better opportunity and things like that. They want to know why the person quit. So if it's always more pay, or if you see a pattern of something and then you see it very quickly, it's no point of them coming to your company. So
yep. Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. I think part of it's being honest with yourself is, can I help this driver? It is okay to look at a driver and go, I can't help you. I'm not going to be the right fit for you. Right. I think we as recruiters often want to hire everybody, and we look at it as a chase. Right. Like we're the lion and they're the gazelle. And sometimes it's okay to say, I can't help you. I don't have what you're looking for. I'll tell recruiters, when you look through somebody's employment, if they always quit for the same reason.
Yeah.
Same reason. So let's say they put pay. Your first question with that driver is, hey, what do you need to make? Like, what is it that you need to be financially whole? What do you need to make?
Exactly.
If you have a driver that some people get into this industry and are loaded up on bills and not in a good spot in their life, and they'll come out and go, I need to make $2,500 a week. It's okay to say, you're a student. You're not going to make $2,500 a week. But I think as recruiters, sometimes we get very quick to, I got to close everybody. When at times there's that moment of going, wait a minute, let's step back just for a second and have a different conversation.
Yeah, and that's part of being a professional versus being an amateur.
Yep, absolutely. I'd ask you this because you've trained a number of recruiters in your time. What are some simple ways to train recruiters so that they can hire better drivers? What does the recruiter need to do in order to do that?
Listen. They need to listen to what the driver is saying, and then ask. You can never probe too much. So ask questions, and if they're not understanding, ask more questions. And you want to know, is this really going to be a good fit? You don't want the driver not to show up. You don't want the driver to quit right after. And you want the driver to be happy. You don't want the driver to have quit a job that he was making a good income to go somewhere where he's not going to be happy, because this is their livelihood. It's not like they're going to get some fried chicken. This is literally paying their rent or their mortgage. So this is pretty dang blasted important. So I always, communication is important. And communication is not about talking. Communication a lot is about listening.
Oh, absolutely. Let me ask you this. If a driver, let's flip it around from the recruiter over to the driver. If the driver calling in, you're asking a lot of things that the driver may not understand why it's relevant, why it's important. They just really want to get their job search over with. They got bills to pay.
Mhm.
What do you wish for a driver to know before they ever have that first conversation with you?
So what you said, say it again, what do I wish the driver to know?
Yeah, before they ever call you, that why you're asking a question. What's important to maybe come into that conversation already in hand knowing. What is it that you'd like a driver to know before that first conversation ever takes place that's going to help them in the process?
I want them to know that we're here to help them. That's literally why we're asking these questions. We don't want them to be in a bad situation, because you don't want to rush through a process to get a job. We want you to go through the process as efficiently as possible. So it's not going to be a turtle situation. It's not a long cycle, but it doesn't need to be like this. It doesn't need to be like that. It needs to be a consultative situation. It needs to be, will these particular benefits work for you? Because this job may be an awesome job, but it doesn't work for you. So if we set you up for this job and it didn't work for you because you wanted to speed through it, then we didn't do our job. So that's what we want drivers to understand in the beginning.
And let me ask you this now. So finally, we're starting to see a lot of things. About 11% of the industry right now offers sign-on bonuses. That's up from about 8% 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was dang near 20% 2 years ago back in 2022. We're starting to see an uptick in guaranteed pay. We're starting to see an uptick in terms of schedule being highlighted in jobs when you do keyword searches to see what the ads are doing on Indeed, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Over the next 12 months, what do you think is going to be most common for a driver in terms of the sale or the pitch to a driver? What do you think might change between, if I'm looking at January to December, what do you think companies are going to do in that arms race to get drivers beyond throwing cash at the problem?
I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be cash. I think it's going to be more about the soft stuff, the benefits, things like that, because companies are starting to understand that it's the intangibles that are attracting the quality drivers.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think finally we're starting to catch up with other industries as a whole.
What do you think? And I'll kind of go off script a little bit here. As you look back over the last 5 years, and you've got multiple clients, not just MVT, working with 40 other carriers, can you think of a feature or a sale pitch, if you will, to a job that was probably the most successful outside of pay? What is something that a carrier had that you go, this is the easiest to sell, drivers want this?
When they had the guaranteed home times, was guaranteed as possible.
Yeah.
And I would say when it came to the insurance starting within 30 days.
Yeah, I think you're right, that schedule.
Yeah, it was definitely the schedule. Yeah, it was definitely the schedule would be the first and the biggest. That would hands down would be the schedule. And then the benefit, it would just be that for some drivers. Yeah, that would be asking about.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you those because it got me as we go into the new year. I always try to think about what we can do that's different or how we can change. I think the drivers, especially not one-offs, but when you start compiling the data over a couple of years, drivers tell you what matters to them most. The days of drivers being on the road for weeks at a time, those are dying. They exist, but it's unattractive for a lot of carriers to do that long length of haul now. There's insurance liability in doing it. There is a lot of flux that comes with it in terms of what you can make off of it. But it's one of the things that I think was interesting, and I'll do a little plug here because I think you have something that a lot of small carriers are focused on now at this point that's kind of interesting. I want to say the Trucking Business Accelerator. Do you want to talk about that a little bit here? Because I think that gets into not just the driver, but a lot of small carriers are taking on some of these questions that we just talked about right now.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I just launched the Trucking Business Accelerator. So what that is, it is a 6-week intense group program, and it's designed to help whether you are a small trucking company now, owner operator that wishes to grow into a fleet, or you're a driver or a entrepreneur within the trucking space that wants to get into having your own trucking business. I do know that it is tough out there, so you're needing to know how to recruit drivers. So even if you're working with a recruiter, you still need to understand and know how to recruit drivers. That's important. Also, how to retain drivers, because you need to be retaining drivers as you're recruiting drivers. So the new way to recruit is to retain. It's not just recruiting. And then also dealing with the technology piece of things, but actually we give you real world actionable case study steps. So the first week is literally a 6-week lesson plan. So just like school, it'll be on a Wednesday. It's going to be recorded. So if you aren't able to do it on Wednesdays, it's going to be recorded. So don't worry about it. But it's going to be 2 hours. And the first week is basically going to talk about your company's value proposition, because everybody's value prop is going to be different. And then after that, we're going to talk about and deal with a case study. And that case study is going to take you through the remainder of the weeks. And that's how you're going to build out your particular business. And you're going to understand how to be profitable. And then also with me having 15 years in the industry, I'll be able to explain that, yes, you have the opportunity to compete with your larger mega companies. This is the only industry you can do that. But then you also have an advantage over your mega companies. But it's important to know what your advantage is and actually do something with that advantage and take advantage of the advantage. So we're only going to be accepting 50 participants. So it's limited spots. It's 50 participants. There is a early bird special till January 20th. So what you're going to do is go to rigonwheels.com, go over to tap on the Row Store, the tab that says the Row Store, and click on the Trucking Business Accelerator. And then to learn more and also to enroll now.
And I'll tell anybody, especially the small fleet owner, and I've owned a couple trucks outside of what I do now. I've owned a couple trucks, and there's unique perils that hit you harder as a small business owner. At MVT, I have 1,600 trucks that I'm responsible for filling. The 1,600 trucks, when I lose 3 drivers, it hurts, but that's out of 1,600 trucks.
Right.
As a fleet owner, let's say you own 20 and you just lost 3 drivers. 15% of your capacity just went away. That is a crippling thing to have happen at once. I've met a lot of fleet owners, 10 trucks, and they're sitting on 5 open trucks. You can't afford to have that cost. Get away from just the lost revenue part of it. There is a cost by doing that. And this business, I tell people, we are in the freight business, but we're in the people business.
Yes.
And if you can't hire, retain, and grow your employees, you're going to struggle in this industry, just like a lot of other businesses, but in trucking more so. We're in the people business. So if you want to succeed as a small fleet owner, you literally have to start at the beginning of that funnel. And it starts with recruiting and retention.
Yeah, absolutely. And recruiting and retention go hand in hand. And so many times we want to separate them, and they actually go hand in hand. And we'll be building out a template for you as far as your onboarding. And I'm not a person that talks about onboarding is just part of your HR in those few days. Your onboarding actually goes for 12 months. Yep. I've been in, the recruitment in a lot of quite a few different industries. Not trying to tell age here, but quite a few different industries. In most industries, onboarding is a year process, and that's how they retain their top talent.
Yep,
is right there. They want to keep their top talent, and they want to grow it, and make sure they develop their top talent. And the way you do that is onboarding for a year.
Yeah, I'll say this. Our industry is really stuck in that idea of, I just got to get to the driver to the 90-day mark.
Yeah, no.
And that is an accomplishment. You do want to get to that spot.
Right.
But realistically, when you look at a driver and they have now entrusted you with their career, because that's what they've done. They have thousands of options. They don't need you. They have entrusted you with that. You really need to have a long-term game plan on how you're going to develop that person into your next rock star. If you simply are worried about them for the next 90 days, they're going to quit on day 91. You've not built a long-term recipe for success.
Absolutely, because if you're only thinking about 90 days, then that's intentional. You're only doing things just for that 90 days. And like you said, Pierson, then on that 91st day, they're done. Because you're not cultivating or massaging a relationship for a long term. That's it.
I will say this.
30, 90 and going on.
I'll say this too. One of the things I've always tracked with a lot of folks is when we look at turnover, were you surprised or were you not surprised by it? And those two things tell you something. When you sit down and you look at your turnover over the course of the year, statistically speaking, there's always a high percentage. When you look at carriers that have a high turnover rate, the percentage of drivers that left and they were surprised that they left is normally very high, which tells you I have a relationship problem. I'm forgetting about people. I'm looking at people as a commodity or a resource. On the flip side, if you're not surprised that they quit, the blessing in that is you know what you need to fix. If you see the turnover coming, you at least have a game plan of, this is what we have to attack because I know they're going to quit. So let's work on fixing this. The worst thing for a carrier to do is have a high percentage of their turnover be a surprise, be it we didn't see it coming. That means that you have more work to do because you have to identify why you've not built a relationship with the candidate, or in this case, the employee. That's a bigger problem. I'd much rather go in, if I'm consulting at a carrier, I'd much rather go in and have somebody that goes, oh, we know why our turnover is happening. Great, we get to skip 5 steps. Let's go ahead and get started. When you go in there and a fleet manager goes, gee, I don't know. I didn't see it coming. Normally my antennas go up and I go, uh-oh, this ain't good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, you should know. You rarely do you not know what's going on. And first of all, when you own the company, you're there. It's just like when we work at somewhere, you're there more than not. You're there more than at home. So absolutely.
Oh, and let's be clear. I wasn't in the open job market when I joined MVT. But when I resigned from the carrier I was at before and went to MVT, my CFO that I worked with, a really smart guy, came up and goes, yeah, I wasn't surprised. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, we work together. We know each other. We know each other's habits. I knew you weren't on job boards, but when you said I'm going to resign, I wasn't that surprised by it. Well, there's a reason for that. If you know the people that you work with, you should know that and their idiosyncrasies, and are they motivated, or are they not motivated, are they inspired to keep moving forward. If you don't know that about drivers, and now I will admit there's a challenge because you don't see them face to face every day, and your fleet manager may have 50 people on their board depending on what they do in their niche, but that should be the goal. I want to know the people that I work with. Do they believe in what we're doing? Do they feel a purpose in what they're doing? And if you can't answer that, you're going to have turnover come.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Wow.
I appreciate you indulging me in answering the Q&A. When I get that article out there, I'll forward it over to you, Kameel.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. But I like that. That was some good questions. Those are definitely good questions. Well, what we're going to do is go to commercial, play the D'Anthony commercial, Terrell, and then when we come back, we're going to go over those hot jobs.
Hello, everybody. I'm D'Anthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good regional job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Before we get into the hot jobs, I want to say this before. So our Faces of the Road stories, Faces of the Road calendar 2025, stories behind the wheel, because it's January. Of course, it came out. And MVT definitely sponsored January because that's when they came out, were born. MVT was born in January. So the driver that was quoted for January was Marcus Johnson. And he said he got into trucking after getting laid off. I couldn't stand the thought of my wife having to work. This career lets her homeschool our kids while I provide for our family. And it's sponsored by Mesilla Valley. And so this is the calendar right here. Okay, so as you guys know, just like last year, the Faces of the Road calendar is our transportation calendar, and it has a lot of our dates in it for trucking. But this year, the theme is stories behind the wheel. So what we did was ask truck drivers to actually give us quotes of either why they started, their favorite places that they actually went. And so every month it is stories. So next Tuesday or what have you, we will talk about a few other ones. But I wanted to talk about this one today.
Nice. Looking forward to it. I'll be in Houston the next 3 weeks on Tuesday. Yeah. So I'll be grabbing my copies.
Yes, you'll be definitely. Oh, and then your wife too. You know, she got to get her copy.
Oh, I wouldn't. I can tell you that I have to come home, and if I come home empty-handed, we're going to have words.
Yes, I like that. No, not the words part, but copy. Okay. So, Terrell or Pat say Jack? Yes. Division 100.
Yep, we have openings for Division 100 out of El Paso. Nice weekly home time. Routes take about 4 to 6 days approximately. Nice length of haul of about 1,400 miles to start out the week. Looking for drivers in El Paso, though we don't require it. This is kind of a cool division in the fact that if someone has a passport, we do get loads that go from El Paso up to either the greater Toronto area or Montreal and back again. And so be it a solo driver or teams, there's an extra $100 per driver on those runs. With that said, the average driver on this without the passport averages about $1,400 to $1,600 a week, 2,800 miles a week. Really good home time. Like I said, it's weekly home time. Must live within a 75-mile radius of El Paso, Texas. And so if you live in the borderlands, Las Cruces, El Paso, any place around there, be sure to go ahead and reach out to Rig on Wheels on that job, because that's going to be a fun one that will fill up fast. We could use approximately 10 to 15 drivers on that. So a lot of opportunity around Division 100. Can we look at Division 150, please? Been a while since we sold this division, and I'm going to tell you, most of the drivers that go into this division love the running area, in particular this time of year. Well, a lot of the country is dealing with weather. This runs the South Central and Southeast U.S., averaging $1,400 to $1,600 a week. Again, weekly home time generally takes about 6 to 7 days on the routes. We're looking for drivers out of El Paso, out of DFW, out of Houston. On this, sticking to the Southeast, South Central U.S., nice running lanes, lots of drop and hook opportunities, and really good established long-term customers with us on this particular run. Going into the Southeast, going into Florida, and coming back out of there, you'll see a lot of Walmart, Lowe's, IKEA, Container Store, Home Depot, and several other name brands that you would recognize that we've been working with going on decades. So got opportunities here. Need about 10 folks that can do Division 150 for us. Depending on where you live, if you're out of Houston, DFW, or El Paso, you most likely would be doing orientation out of El Paso, which will get you on a run starting on Division 150 that will get you right into the running lane and heading home. Let's look at Division 400. Division 400. Been redesigned. We're looking for drivers out of Memphis, Tennessee, and Nashville. This is a position that pays approximately $1,650 a week. If you include an incentive program based off safety and productivity, our average driver in this division is going to be in that $90,000 to $95,000 range. A lot of Southern Great Lakes states, Southeast, East Coast. We don't go that far into the Northeast. You won't see New York City or New England on your map. Really good customers on this as well. There's a lot more nighttime driving in this position. Some folks don't like it. Some folks do like it, depending on your preference. So this division is mainly going to be about 80% nighttime driving, so you get a lot less traffic. That helps when you go through places like Indianapolis, Nashville, Atlanta, places like that where traffic during the day can be a bear. It is much easier going through there at night, where you have significantly less traffic patterns to deal with. Again, weekly home time on this. Orientation out of this for this division would take place in Nashville, Tennessee. Again, we have openings for that in Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee on Division 400. As with all of our divisions, if you didn't see a market that you live in but sounds like you're looking to make a change here, we hire in a lot of other places. We have openings in Phoenix, Portland, Oregon, Salt Lake City. We have openings in Denver, Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Laredo, Texas, San Antonio, Houston, Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, and Jacksonville, Florida, just to name a few. Between that and the 40 other clients that Rig on Wheels have, they have clients that hire all over the country. So if one of these divisions interests you, or any opening that might exist across the country, reach out to Rig on Wheels. Go to rigonwheels.com for more information. Or if they can share the number on the screen, they'll give you a phone number that you can call directly today and talk to somebody live about what your career path is. Kameel, do you have that phone number there?
Yeah, I don't know. Terrell, do you have a telephone number? Or Terrell, can you take that down? The telephone number is 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100. Or you can go directly to the website at rigonwheels.com. Click on the driver application, completed. It's a autofill definitely, and completed, and we'll give you a call back. Dre, I see that you said that you filled out the application. Do you know what division you filled it out for? We're going to wait a few seconds to see if you respond back. Look, we're quiet as if we can hear him talking.
I hear the clicking.
Yes, we hear the clicking noise. Because that's what I was wondering. What
I feel bad because we've said that number so many times. I really should have that 281 number memorized, and I don't.
I don't know which one. Okay, don't worry about it. I'll have I'll message you to ask a little bit more about your information, and then we'll figure it out. You probably spoke to Nimmer or Raven. I don't know who filled out more MVT apps today or not, but that we are at the bottom of the hour, and I just want everybody to definitely be safe. I-70 yesterday and today has been absolute mess. So I really want the drivers to be safe, all of the drivers, but I saw some new drivers hit the road on LinkedIn yesterday in the wee hours in the morning when I was on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine being a new driver out there. Well, that's really throwing yourself out there, that's for sure. They're going to be some drivers, not drivers. They're going to be some drivers after that. That's for sure. But definitely be safe, pull over. If you're sliding, make sure you turn your steering wheel to the way that you want your wheels to go. But think of your cab as a tent, and everything that you would want on a camping trip is what you should be putting in your taking on your cab. I know we don't have a lot of time to go through each item, but just think of it like that. You're on a camping trip and your Uncle Junior is telling you everything that you should be taking, and that is definitely what you need to be having in your cab, even if you're local.
And I tell everybody, slow down. I promise you, as much as we talk about being on time and being professional, part of it being a professional is getting home safely. Your loved ones want to see you. Your coworkers want to see you. And so let's all live for another day. Slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Live for another day.
Yep.
So if anybody has any questions, any texts that you want to get to me really fast, if you want me really fast, just text me at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100. If you need anything addressed on the show, and we'll definitely handle that for you. So we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
See you next week, Kameel.
Yes, you will. You'll be down here.